Hello, welcome to episode 38 of the Daily Disney Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are on Wednesday, January the 12th. All of a sudden, we're almost halfway through January, which is a really good thing. And if you are in Orlando, Florida today, you are looking pretty good. You're 59 right now. Looks like it's going to be mid to high 70s by the end of the day. Maybe some clouds. And the weather looks perfect. So, I'm jealous if you're there. I say it every day. But hopefully, if you are in Florida, you are enjoying not only the weather, but Walt Disney World. But today we want to talk about three things that you will not be enjoying at Walt Disney World. I'm going to talk about three of my favorite extinct attractions at Walt Disney World, specifically Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom has a pretty decent list of rides that have fallen by the wayside, but I'm going to focus on three of them today and kind of go into depth why I enjoyed them. First one is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Now, this ride was open from 71 to 94, and it's replaced by basically the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. It was Ariel's Grotto, Pooh's Playful Spot, but now it's where the Mine Train is, more or less, kind of that same area. It was an attraction at Magic Kingdom. It ran through 1971 to 1994 based on the characters of the 1954 film 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. There was a submarine voyage over at Disneyland. The ride was a 20-minute submarine ride through a lagoon filled with sea life and mermaids. And as you can see there, the ride vehicle looked pretty cool. At the bottom, underneath the water, are a bunch of kind of like portholes. That's kind of where you sat. You sat in a little chair and just faced outside, basically. And you would see the few animatronics under there, but more or less, most of the stuff was kind of static. They stayed there. Basically, you're riding in a Nautilus. It was. How do I explain this? It was fun. It was kind of interesting. It was kind of cool. At the time, I was a little guy. I was 11 when it closed, so I was obviously younger than that when I rode the attraction. It made you feel like you really were underwater if you were a kid. If you were older or an adult, you may have thought that this was a little lame. But I personally thought it was pretty cool. The bubbles went up by the window to make you feel like you really are going underwater. The attraction was super popular. There was always a really long line. This is back before FastPass or anything, so you just pretty much stood there and took it. But it was really, really cool. The queue was partially undercover, partially was not. By the end of the ride, you were kind of done. You were kind of ready to be off there. You saw a bunch of different mermaids. There were some fish in there. There were some different like scuba diving equipment, maybe an old ship. There were all kinds of different things in there. A sea serpent. The ruins of Atlantis. There were a bunch of cool things. Treasure with jewels and gold. An ancient civilization. I mean, it just made you feel like, hey, we're underwater. And back in the early 90s, before the internet came out, this was pretty cool entertainment. Would this survive today? No. You'd have to do something crazy. You'd either have to have screens in front of you that made you feel like you were really, really, really deep diving or, different things like that. Was this a great ride for the time? Sure. Not a lot of crazy effects, just kind of, hey, you're going underwater, you're going to go explore all this stuff, and there you have it. So that is my number three. Let's count down 3-1, right? So my third attraction that I missed the most at Disney World and Magic Kingdom is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And again, it was a cool ride. It would not survive today, but I really thought that it was pretty cool. So, Now, let's get to our next ride that we're going to talk about. And that one, if we can change the picture here, maybe, is in Fantasyland. Let's see if we got this to work properly. Did we? There it is. Snow White's Scary Adventure. That picture's a little blurry, so we're going to make it a little smaller. So anyway, that's just the queue outside. Let's cover my face. There we go. So there's a picture right now of Snow White's Scary Adventure. This ride was pretty cool. It was pretty fun. It was basically Snow White's Enchanted Wish is another version of the ride. It was formerly here at the Magic Kingdom in Fantasyland. Let's see here, January 7th, 2022. I'm sorry, 2020 it closed. It was, where are we at here? Let's take a look. There we go. Sorry. 71 to 94 was the original ride, and it was very, very frightening. I remember there were a couple parts where you really were like, what the heck? It was done too much of lightning. It was very, very dark. It was very, very, they wanted it to be scary. Obviously, they wanted it to be scary. There were a lot of twists and turns. It was kind of frightening. Snow White was not seen at all. The dwarfs only showed up once. It was really focused about the Evil Queen. There were 7 witch figures in the version, the witch, not the Evil Queen. There were only 6 in the different version before that. The queue was very similar to everything else. In 1994, the Magic Kingdom attraction closed to go over a redesign that would be similar to what Disneyland had. That reopened in December of 94 with a much lighter tone. It was more fun. It was more uplifting. You saw Snow White. There was a mural with Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. And basically you start in the courtyard where Snow White was seen outside. And you just kind of go through. The witch tried to drop a rock on the dwarfs. It was more fun than anything. And was it scary? For sure. But it was not nearly as scary as the previous version. The previous version was, it was pretty scary. There were a lot of different parts, and scary for a little kid. That's what I mean. It's really one of those things where, how do you explain it? You get in a little mine cart. You get in the mine cart before you get in the mine train, really. This was kind of the precursor to the mine train. You saw a lot of the witch. You saw a lot of kind of the dark side of the movie. So, I don't know. It was fun. It was exciting. It was a cool dark ride. And I guess what I'm struggling to say is just how different it was, because every other dark ride, every other kind of that Omnimover was just kind of, oh, here we are. And they tried to make the Haunted Mansion scary, but it wasn't. So this was one that you actually were like, oh my gosh, this is a little frightening. It closed on May 31st, 2012, and was replaced by Princess Fairy Tale as part of the major expansion in Fantasyland. Now, when the 7 Dwarfs Mine Train opened in 2014, many of the dwarf and animal figures from the Silly Song scene were recycled in the new ride, as were the 2 vultures. The witch received a new design, which was most accurate to the movie and a little less scary. That's the thing I remember, is they tried to make the witch crazy scary. And they did. It was really, really good. It was a really good ride. It was fun. I miss it. Would it survive today? Yeah, I think it would. The scary factor would make people probably want to go on it. Was it a little wild and weird? Yeah, for sure. But I think it's something that was very, Very, very fun. It was very, very cool. The ride vehicles were neat. So it was one of those where I think you could put it somewhere in that park today and it would survive. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea? No. Snow White's Scary Adventure? Yeah, I really do. I think you could. So that's my second ride that I miss the most. It's fun. It's cool. Even though I only rode it a few times after the refurbishment. So it wasn't something where, I was on there a lot. But, I think it was pretty cool. I think it was pretty fun. I do. I think it was one that most people would ride, probably. Third one, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. There it is. Let's see, can we make this bigger? No, let's just keep it the same size. We're just, hey. We're editing video while we're at it here. So, okay. So our ride today, or our third attraction that we miss the most is one that I can't get the image correct on the screen, which is fine. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. You know what it looks like, right? Everybody knows. Everybody's been there. This ride was in Fantasyland. This one was out there a little bit. This one was really out there a little bit. And it is still open in Disneyland, which is cool. But I'm going to go over a couple things here. There we go. Okay. So let's look at this. This is a ride that I really do miss. I think it's really, really fun. It's based on the Wind and the Willows, which is from 1908. It was in Magic Kingdom from the opening in 1971 through 1998. In the variations of the attraction, you are Mr. Toad, and you're recklessly moving through the English countryside and streets of London in a period motor car before meeting a demise with the railway tunnel and ending up in a tongue-in-cheek depiction of hell. The ride's ending has no significance of the events or the animated film or novel. It was originally envisioned as a roller coaster. It was a dark ride because Walt Disney felt that the roller coaster might not have been appropriate for young children. And this is a wild ride, obviously. This is pretty crazy. It really is. And it's really crazy because you do a bunch of moving around. The car moves a lot. You're in a little bitty, kind of like a jalopy from England. You're in, like I just mentioned, you're in that countryside. It was an opening day attraction in 1971. It was modeled off the Disneyland attraction, but a little bit different. They had two different tracks. Each track had different scenery in there. It closed September 7th, 1998 to make room for the Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. All the ride vehicles got sold. There are a few tributes in Disney World. Mr. Toad and Molly are in a painting of the Winnie the Pooh attraction. Toad is in a pet cemetery outside the Haunted Mansion. But there's just a few different things that made this really, really cool. The two different ride tracks made it really, really neat. So you really had a different show, a different attraction on each ride that you went to. The part that would get them in trouble right now is the part where you get run over by a train and you go to hell. Is it funny? Sure. Could it pass today? No, it couldn't. They would have to adjust it. It does, it works in Disneyland. I just don't think anybody questions it or anything. But if this came in as a brand new attraction, I think it would struggle. It is really, really cool. And I don't know, it's not sound like kids are doing this anymore, but we read Wind and the Willows back when we were in school. So this is something that, hey, okay, I know this story. Let's go and ride this. There were differences on both tracks. They were both very, very cool animatronics and audio animatronics. And really what I remember is when you're going around and doing everything here, it is so fast. Like the track is really jerking you left and right and you're moving around and everything like that. So it's really, really cool to see that, in person. And Winnie the Pooh does that a little bit, especially back in the Tigger scene. But Mr. Toad's Wild Ride was one that I will never forget. I think it's cool. There was actually a group of people that tried to have like sit-ins and all kinds of stuff to prevent them from getting rid of the ride. I mean, the gravestone at the Magic Kingdom or at Haunted Mansion says something like "Here lies Toad, not as markable as Winnie the Pooh" or something like that. It just wasn't markable. It just wasn't. People love Winnie the Pooh. People know Winnie the Pooh. They're releasing new movies all the time. Mr. Toad was a book and a book from the early 1900s. So he's outdated, unfortunately. It was a cool ride. It was really, really fun. I think there could be a place for it. They would just need to adjust it a little bit. But it's one that I really, really miss. The queue was cool. All the sounds and that is all. You go through and see the judge and you see the English countryside and all this, there's so many quirky little things that you laughed at and then you got off and you think about it. That was really funny. Watch a point of view video of this. There's a lot of good video out there from before it was actually closed. It really had some good audio, so you can really pick that up and see it. So that's it today. Our top 3 rides that we missed from Magic Kingdom. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which was cool, would not survive today because it was kind of lame, but it was pretty neat, pretty interesting. Snow White's Scary Adventure because it was scary, and then they made it more kid-friendly, but it was still really cool, very, very unique. And Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. That's one that will go down in history as one of the greatest Disney attractions ever. It's like, right there with the Great Movie Ride and Horizons and those that people just love that are no longer around. So anyway, let me know. Comment below what you think or what you're missing from Disney World. There's a few rides that are missing from the Magic Kingdom. We could talk about the Skyway. We could talk about the Delta Dream Flight and all those rides that were up where Buzz Lightyear is. There's Mickey Mouse Review that was around for a while. Just a few things like that were missing. But thank you for joining me on episode 38 of the Daily Disney Podcast. Make sure you give us a like and follow on your favorite podcast outlet. And then also on YouTube, we are the Daily Disney Podcast. We do film these on YouTube. So if you want to take a look and see my ugly mug, I'm sitting in front of a camera talking to it. And I thank you for joining me. Hopefully you have a great day. And we will talk to you tomorrow. Take care.